نستعين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أما بعد. We're going to do something different today. Inshallah, I'm going to start, and then my brother is going to put the final touches on it. And inshallah, I'm very excited about the topic that we're going to be talking about for a few reasons, because of its importance, and also because it's not, although it's coming from me, the message is from my mother. And I just hope that we can all understand what I say and we can put it into practice. Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi ala ni'mati al-Islami wa kafa biha ni'mah. It's going to be a day of lists, so I hope we can all remember the pointers that I give to you today. Now, to start off, I was motivated, or me and Musa were motivated to give this talk because of the story that my brother, he was named after this prophet, Prophet Musa. And an interesting point was made that really sparked my interest. When we think about the story of Prophet Musa, there's two aspects to that story. The first aspect is Prophet Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun. But the story of Prophet Musa, it encompasses more than most of the Quran, because there's so much that happens in the time of his life. And the second portion is what I want to focus on today, and that's between Prophet Musa and Bani Israel. Now, if you can recall the story, Prophet Musa, although he was told by Allah that Bani Israel would enter the promised land, Prophet Musa did not know that it would not be him who would enter it with them. Now, the generation, the people who were with Prophet Musa, came from slavery. They were persecuted physically, emotionally, spiritually. So they were not ready to take up this promise that Allah had given to the Bani Israel. This generation was not ready. Although Prophet Musa was one of the greatest of the 5 prophets that we know of, Prophet Musa, Prophet Ibrahim, Prophet Isa, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Prophet Noah, this great leadership that came from him was not enough to bring the Bani Israel to enter the promised land. So even though we have a great leader, we can't expect this leader to do everything for us. We all know the prophecy of the Mahdi, because Allah has promised us that this is the land of Allah. Allah created this earth, and He can give it to whomever He wills, and He has promised that we will be in control. But we have to wait until that happens. So we're all very familiar with Mahdi and Prophet Isa, who will come back and lead us into this great time of Muslim civilization. But we have to ask ourselves at the same time, why has this time not come? Why are we in the predicament that we find ourselves in? Now there are many aspects that we can approach this topic from, but I want to take it to a more personal level. Because we can't change the outside unless we change the inside. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, those who believe and work righteousness, their Lord will guide them because of their faith. Now this is where I start speaking the words of my mother, Jamila Kalakatronis, Dr. Jamila Kalakatronis. May Allah reward her and keep her comfortable in her grave and grant her the highest levels of Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. Because even though she's gone, we're still benefiting from her knowledge till this day. Now, this book, Turbulence, this is a book which is a part of a 5-book series. And this is the 3rd book of the 5. And this book begins with a character named Brad Adams. Now, the beginning of the book starts in a way that we can all relate to. We all know that the life that we live in is not perfect. We go through our ups and our downs, and we face hardships. So we can all relate to sadness. And the thing that we need to remember when we face these calamities is that Allah, when He puts us through these tests, it's for our benefit. It's either because He wants to remind us, or He wants to raise us in a rank so that we become closer to Him in Jannah. And this is what is this case with the prophets. May Allah be pleased with them all. They were in the furnace of the trials and the tribulations. And this is why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who went through the most difficult, he is guaranteed the highest station of Jannatul Firdaus. So when this stuff happens to us, when sadness and calamities happen to us, we say what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us to say, and we say Alhamdulillah. We be patient, and we have to be thankful. And I know this is difficult to do, especially in the moment when it hits. But Brad Adams, and again, this is a fictional story. And me personally, I don't like fiction because if I read, I'd like to benefit from what I'm reading. But this book is the most beneficial piece of fiction that I've read. And it's not only this book, but it's every book that she's written. Because the way that she teaches you about Islam is in a way that is extremely unique, and in a way that you can catch the message, because we all go through the stuff that her characters are going through. And I want to relate to you one of these situations. So the story starts off with a calamity that Brad Adams goes through. Now Brad, he's a career man. His life is surrounded around his work. He's too busy to think about anything God or spiritual, death, you know. As long as he has his work, he's satisfied. But if you realize, Brad is an example of the Western society. We're too busy to think about death, spirituality, any of that stuff, because we have our work that surrounds us. We have nothing else to think about. But then when the calamity hits, your work is not going to do anything for you. In the Great Depression, and with just recently, the financial crisis, how many people lost their lives because they just couldn't take it anymore? Their work, their accounting, their numbers, their collecting of money, al-hakum mutakathur, they were just building and building. But what were they building for? So Brad is in that situation. He doesn't know what to do. And after some time of depression, he realizes that he can't take it anymore and there needs to be a change in his life. He travels, and I don't want to give too much away from the book, but he goes on a spiritual journey. And this book, one of my favorite books, because I can relate to this character. He goes onto a spiritual journey. He wants to find the truth. What is it out there? He goes to the Grand Canyon. He goes to the Badlands. He goes to the Niagara Falls. He sees all of these natural beauty. And we all know scientifically how the Grand Canyon was formed, by wind and water. But there's something deeper than that. And Brad, he notices that. So he goes from the creation in search for the Creator. Now, this next point, it's something that comes from Buddhism, but it's something that I think we need to contemplate on. And this, the Four Noble Truths. Number one, all life is suffering. Like in Surah Al-Mulk. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. To test you to see who is best in character. So that's in the Quran. All life is a test. Number two, the second noble truth. Suffering is caused by desire. You can recall the later speech was about trying to control ourselves. And if we keep following our desires, we can try to cover up that hole that we find in our hearts. But it's always going to be there. That mark is always going to be there. The third noble truth, the way to end suffering is to end desire. And the fourth noble truth, the way to end desire is through right understanding. Through right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And this is from the Sunnah. Have the best character, have the best behavior in front of people. And whatever you think is what you're going to portray. Now we're gonna go from Buddhism, and this is a journey that Brad goes through. He looks at all these spiritual religions that we find out there, and he goes through every one of them, trying to find the truth. So after he goes through number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, he comes across, he decides to make a list. What is it that's at the core of my troubles? What do I need? And this list is something that we all need to think about. What do we need in our lives? Number 1, I need consistency and structure. Number 2, I need rules. What is expected of me? Number 3, there have to be consequences. Number 4, I want a sense of brotherhood. I need to belong somewhere. Number 5, I absolutely must have peace. I need something I can turn to when times get rough. Let's go to the first one. I need consistency. Does Islam provide us consistency and structure? We have the 5 pillars of Islam. And they're called pillars for a reason. Because without these 5, the foundation is going to fall. We can find consistency in all of the 5. And Salat is one very simple example of that. There's harmony And there's agreements in the actions and the ideas. And then we can also think about Hajj. We do these actions not because we necessarily understand why, but we do them because our righteous predecessors, Hajj of Prophet Ibrahim, Prophet Ismail, we follow their actions. So we conform with previous practices. Number 2, what is expected of me? Is there something in Islam that tells you what Allah expects of you? And we can find that in the first pillar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. I testify that there is only one God, Allah, and Prophet Muhammad is the last and final messenger. Number 3, there have to be consequences. Now Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam first came to the people and said, don't drink, don't commit fornication, people would have never stopped these actions. Because Allah, He put these in the human being. Because He wants to see who has the best character. And it's hard to give up these things. But the first revelations that came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were talking about Jannah and Jahannam, hellfire and paradise. So the people realized that there was consequences to your actions. And their hearts became attached. So much so that when the revelation of the alcohol, when alcohol was made forbidden, it was immediately acted upon. In the United States, they tried to prohibit alcohol, but it didn't work. They had to reinstate it because there wasn't that touch, that connection. Number 4, I want a sense of brotherhood. I need to belong somewhere. Now we have to understand why is it so important that we go to these masjids when we can easily make salat in our homes, when we can make salat on the lawn. Allah has made the world a masjid for us. We can make salat anywhere as long as it's pure. But why does the reward for going to the masjid so great? And then the last one, I absolutely must have peace. In the Quran, Allah tells us the reason why we remember Allah so much. Because our hearts find peace when we remember Allah. We pray 5 times a day. We do dhikr. We do all these things because Allah knows this is what you need. If you want peace, this is what you do. Allah created us and He knows us better than we know ourselves. So if you want peace, there it is. Remember me and you will find peace. Now, subhanAllah. I hate to do it, but I think it will be beneficial for all of us if I told you how the story progresses. And even though there are some things of this book that you might find out, it's definitely worth reading. He hasn't, subhanAllah. It'll be very hard for me to do, but inshallah, big benefit. Okay. Imagine you're in salat. Are we really benefiting from this salat? We stand next to each other, brother and brother, sister and sister. Is there a peace that comes over us? When we go to the Grand Canyon and we amaze at the beauty of the Grand Canyon, the huge cliffs, the huge rock formations, does that touch us the same way that we are touched when we are the closest to Allah when we recite that? And when we finish salat, do we continue to remember Allah? Or are we just eager to get back up and continue on with our day? And if we can think about the list that I just said, you can find every single one of them in the salah. You can find the peace. You can find the brotherhood. You can find the rules. You can find the consequences. And you can find the consistency. Now, before I give it back to Saira, I want to end with two quotes that inshallah we can contemplate. I sought my soul, but my soul I could not see. I sought my God, but my God eluded me. I sought my brother, and I found all three. Now, if anybody wants these notes that I've taken, I'd be more than happy to share it with them. And with that, I found all three. And inshallah, Khaira would like to recite the Ismail al-Husna, 99 names.
أسألك يا من هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم ملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن عزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق البارئ المصور الغفار القهار الوهاب الرزاق الفتاح العليم القابض الباسط الخافض الرافع المعز المذل السميع البصير الحكم العدل اللطيف الخبير الحليم العظيم الغفور الشكور العلي الكبير الحفيظ المقيت الحسيب الجليل الكريم الرقيب المجيب الواسع الحكيم الودود المجيد البعاد الشهيد الحق الوكيل القوي المتين الولي الحميد المطيع المعيد المحمود الحي القيوم الواجد الماجد الواحد الأحد الصمد القادر المقتدر المؤخر الأول الآخر الظاهر الباطن الوالي المتعال البر التواب المتقي المعفو الرؤوف مالك المقيت الجلال والإكرام المقسط الجامع الغني الكريم المانع الضار النافع النور الهادي البديع الباقي الوارث الرشيد الصبور.
تكبير الله أكبر تكبير الله أكبر تكبير الله أكبر. Before Musa grabbed the microphone, alhamdulillah, this the philosophy and practice of the teaching of methodology at Islamic school LUA, because we teach our children every day that as Muslim we have to aim, A-I-M, right? A mean Allah, I Islam, and M is Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And you found that in dua when we make wudu, Raditu billahi rabba, right? That's A. Walil Islam Medina, that's I. Wa bi Muhammadin Nabiyya wa Rasulah, that's Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If we play with words to make the kids excited about things, but he also said that we aim big, we aim great, and we aim very high. And as Muslim, we aim above and beyond the sky. As Brother Ibrahim said, we aim for paradise, but not any paradise, not just paradise. Jannatul Firdaus al-Ala, the highest. That's why Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adzabannar. And Khaira is one of 87 students memorize Asma'ullah Husna this year. Why we take this so significantly? Because we aim for Jannah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 100 names minus 1. This means 99 names of Allah. Whosoever among my ummah memorize this quality, the character or the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just memorize, believe in it. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, Al-Qudus. Believe in its meaning and bring into practice. Nothing else prevent him or her but Jannah. Subhanallah, that's why LUA kids realize that dunya is not where we'll be. We aim to akhirah because soon we'll be gone. Dr. Jamila gone. She accepts Shahada 33 years ago. She's gone. Because she aimed very great. We came from the Christian background, found Islam, promote Islam, live the world with Islam. That's why, alhamdulillah, Ibrahim was able to share the love of his mother with us today. And Khaira, you are wonderful. MashaAllah.
Human beings are a very interesting creation, and so many of the sciences that our scientists research is trying to understand this human creature, and we try to understand it psychologically, we try to understand this creature biologically, we try to understand it spiritually, any kind of science. But as Ibrahim reminded us, Allah knows us better than we know ourselves. And all of our sciences, it could be true. We could have tested it and verified it and come to different conclusions about the human being based on our research. But if you took all of the knowledgeable people of the world, all of the scientists of the world, the top people in their field, and you took all of their research and you put it in front of you, and you tried to compare it to what Allah knows about us, you would find that we know like a drop of water compared to the ocean. So when the scholars of the sciences tell us that human beings need X, Y, Z, do we listen to the scholars of those sciences, or within Allah tells us we need A, B, C? Who do we listen to? If we have more faith in the scholars than we have faith in Allah, then we will follow X, Y, Z. And then if you want to know what happens when we follow X, Y, Z, just go outside and see what's happening. But if you want to know what happens when we follow A, B, C, this is what we're not sure of yet. The Bani Israel came out of Egypt. When they came out of Egypt, they have been a generation that was raised in slavery. So all the time around them, they saw X, Y, Z happen. Because the scholars of the ancient Egyptian people, they knew about magic, they knew about their own spirituality, they knew about their idolatry, they knew about all of these things, and they said, this is the way